Today I want to share with you guys a little bit more in-depth workflow. I know that part of that is showing the process of how I edit an image, but for me, workflow is also setting the scene and giving you a little bit more behind the scenes. So today I kind of want to talk a little bit about lighting, what I did to get these photos, and then we will go ahead and go through a process of adding some filters to them and finishing the images in the look that I am hoping for. I recently added this new tire swing to my studio props. I wanted to give myself a chance to play around with it, play around with posing, get a good grasp on the lighting, different times of day affect this area, but I kind of wanted to take the time to get it the way I wanted it before I started out on a client. As you can see, here is a couple of shots that I took. These are just iPhone pics. Bear with me here. I just want to set the scene for you guys. This is shooting one direction. Back in the back that you can see there is the pond, which you can see is pretty bright. This is shooting the other direction. Up to the left, that white building or barn is the studio. You can see that the lighting is very dappled. It's not the best light. This is midday. It's mostly in the shade, but depending on which way you shoot, your background is going to change quite a bit. Here is a shot shooting also towards the barn, so towards the studio. This has no lighting help. This is straight out of the camera. This is not an iPhone pic, but this is a camera shot. Just me evaluating kind of what the lighting situation is. The sun was dropping, pretty bright behind. You can see all kind of the blown out grass area. Not quite what I was hoping for. I think the shot's adorable, but I definitely wanted to have a little bit more controlled light. So the first night that I went out, I went late day. So these are late day, probably 7:30 at night. The only lighting that I used was a little silver reflector that I have popping in a little bit of light into the face. But the rest is just the sun dropping, that nice kind of warm light that you get. I like these. I think they were great for time of day. This is very specific to an evening sunlight. Midday shooting this direction, as you saw in that first one here, not as great. I knew right away that I needed to go the other direction if I was going to shoot in midday. So the second day I went out, and you can see the second set of photos that are here. They're a little cooler. They don't have that warm light. This is the middle of the day. I did a more controlled lighting situation for these. So for these particular shots, there was dappled light, so the sun was coming through the trees. There was light all over my child's face. I didn't want to block the light because I still wanted that nice soft feel to it. So I grabbed a translucent light disc so that the light can still come through, and I had somebody holding it up to the right. So the right side of his face over here is where it was getting hit from the sun. So I had somebody standing there holding it. The light came through nicely, but instead of that dappled look, I had that nice soft box. And then to the left, I had another light disc that was just popping in. You can see that he's got a little bit of catch lights in his eyes, so I was just pulling in a little bit of light in there. And it gave it this more soft look that I was really hoping for. And I love the tones in this. I do know that I'm going to bump this up and make it a little bit more summer, as well as make a couple of these, I think, black and white, which would be great with this little guy. Now that I've talked a little bit about lighting and kind of how I approached it, the next piece of the puzzle for me is definitely posing. With kids, I try to take a less pose approach, I guess, or a more natural approach. They're kids. They're running around being crazy. They're showing you their personality. Especially when you're shooting really young kids, you can't really make them do anything. So I try to kind of work around them and kind of let them guide the session per se. So for the tire swing, I let the kids play on the tire swing. I thought about the different angles. So we talked about shooting towards the barn and then also shooting towards the pond. So changing my angle and my perspective is going to change the look of the photograph. I also tried all the different types of playing on the tire. So you can see here we've got Lennox sitting up on top of the tire. I have hanging out of the tire. I tried close up. I tried farther away, sitting inside the tire, which may or may not work depending on the child. But I tried to kind of work around the prop as much as I could. And as I continue to shoot with it, I'm sure I'll come up with other ideas of, hanging out of the tire, or, mixing it up a little bit with different poses can give you quite a few different looks very easily. The next thing that I want to do is go ahead and work on some of these photographs. So my intention for this was to give it a nice warm summer glow. So let's go ahead and take this image. So this is one of my favorites, and we're going to go ahead and pull it into effects. I'm going to start with let's start with warming this image up first. So I want it to have a little bit more of a summer glow. So this is a little cool. I think it's great, but I want to make sure that it really represents what I feel summer is. So I'm going to add a photo filter, and I'm going to change the color. And I've already made my little notes here, so I'm going to cheat a little bit here, but I want to make this more of a pink tone. So I'm going to change my numbers here. So we got it's hot pink, you can see here. And you can also click on this and pull it up and put in your color, or choose a color from a color wheel. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted already. So I'm going to take this hot pink so that I can clean it up a little bit. I've got my mode set on clean shadows, and I have it as a solid color. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add a texture. I do this often. I have a texture that's my favorite. If you've seen other videos, you may have seen me use it before. But I'm going to add the metal category and the grunge vignette. This is one of my favorite textures. You can see that's kind of lighter in the middle and that it's darker around the edges. I love that it just adds that little bit of texture, but it kind of makes that center area a lot brighter. I am going to pull that back a little bit, so we're going to grab that. Another thing that's cool is you can rotate the texture if you need to. So you can kind of rotate it around until you get it right in the spot that you want. I'm going to keep it about right there so it's not on his face. I see that it is a little bit here on his legs, so I'm going to just pull that back a little bit more. Okay. And then let's add the summer glow. So let's go and grab the glow filter. And then we're going to pull this up probably about 30. You can kind of see now, you can see it softening it all up. You can see in the little darker areas, it's got a nice little glow in there. Let's turn, actually the halo's probably okay, and the soft light's great. And then let's do one final quick thing. I'm going to go ahead and do a sharpening. So let's add a sharpen. And I'm going to change this to progressive. And let's just add a little bit more detail in there. Let's see the sharpening. So before and after on the sharpening. One more thing I could do if you want at the very end, I could hit or miss on this one, is go ahead and add a little bit of a vignette. Grab a big softie. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. I'm okay with a little bit of it. Kind of softens the edges just a little bit. And then let's look at the before. So now you can see the drastic change. So I look at this and I see it and I like that it's nice and clean. But as soon as I put the after in, now I look like a nice warm summer evening. So let's go ahead and head back to browse. And I'm going to head back to my grid view. So once I've made a setting in a series that I like, so I love that this is got that nice little soft summer glow, I'm going to go ahead and copy those settings. And I'm going to paste it to the whole set that I have. Actually, let's leave one out. I'll make one black and white. So let's go ahead and paste those settings. So now I have that same look applied to the same series of images. Because the lighting was the same, so we talked about that, the coloring is going to be the same. Therefore, the settings that are the filters that I added should be very similar as well. So you can look at these. So we got that nice, warm, soft glow that I love. To start my next set, I'm going to go ahead and copy those same settings just to see what it looks like. So I'm very visual. I know that this is a lot different lighting. I know that this is a little warmer, so I still am going to go ahead and apply it. And that actually warmed that up pretty good. So it changed the look, but it did a pretty good job giving it that warmth. Let's go ahead and paste it on this one as well. You can see that those filters added to this image actually work quite well. Even though the lighting is quite different, it still has that nice summer glow. Another thing that I would probably do is go ahead and make a few of these black and white. So I have the series, I've got my summer set that I love. Let's go ahead and grab this guy. I love this shot. This is very summer to me, but I want to go ahead and make it black and white. I think with his little bare toes and the no shirt and the looking up, I think would make a great black and white. Let's go ahead and make this guy black and white. So we'll add that black and white filter. And then I'm going to add a tone enhancer on top so that I can make a little bit more matte black and white. In the tone enhancer, I'm going to open up the curves. I'm going to grab that black dot, which is our black point, and I'm going to pull that up just a little bit. I'm going to grab the white point, and I'm going to pull that down just a touch so we kind of have a little bit more matte look. And then on top of that, I'm going to sharpen it. And I'm going to pull that amount a little bit so we get a little bit sharp, nice and sharp there. And then I will add a little vignette to pull around the sides. Let's pull that back just a little bit. And now I've got my summertime black and white. So let's head back to browse. The one last little tip I want to leave you with, I talked about it a little bit, but was keeping things consistent within a shoot or within a series or a set or a location. If you're in a similar spot, you kind of want to keep those looks very similar to keep the cohesiveness through it, especially if you are a portrait photographer who's selling to a client. You don't want to get too crazy all over the place. You want to keep things kind of consistent so it shows your look and how you want your images represented to the client. So for me, I did the summer look on all of these color images, and then I want some black and whites. So I've created my black and white look for this set, and I'm going to go ahead and copy again those settings, and I'm going to paste it to the rest of the ones that I would like to have the black and white look to. And then once that adds there, I'm going to have my complete set. So for my job, this is what I would show a client. They would get their set of black and whites, and they would get their set of colors. So I kind of have it mixed in a little bit, and they all have that summer look to them. I hope that you guys were able to take a little something or a little tip or a little trick out of this or find some summer inspiration. I encourage you to find a prop and try to look at it differently, try to look around it, play with the light a little bit, use different lighting techniques if you can, and see what you can come up with. Thank you so much.